What's up, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Lead From Here podcast. I am Jason. Today, we're talking about driving change in a business. This topic is a very interesting one and can vary very wide differences between a startup and, say, a 20,000 person corporation. Like, driving change looks very different because in a startup, driving change is actually very straightforward and very interesting. And actually part of the culture of a startup is usually change, right? You're used to okay, we're going this direction. Oh, we found out from customers they actually want us to change direction a little bit, so they're going to change direction. And I've hired a bunch of people now, and this way I thought leadership would work isn't working, so we're going to try something else. There's a lot of change that happens in a startup, and that's very natural and very normal. Driving change in that business is much easier than, say, a company that has 20,000 employees and has a really strong HR program and developed practices and documentation and all of these things that best practices, all those things that basically drive how the company functions now. And implementing change can be much more difficult. What I would say is in either situation, large company, small company, it's important for you to understand the key parts of driving change, and that is understanding the return on investment in that change. This is probably the hardest part because you have to have data to back that up. If you don't have the data to back that up, well, it's going to be harder for you to implement that change. So ultimately what your goal is to get as much data as you possibly can, understand the return on investment. So show hey, if we do this, we should see X number of dollars saved or X number of dollars added to revenue. So that makes it difficult. Understanding the data that you need to pull together is going to be very difficult depending on the task, but having that data, especially in a very large company, will make it much easier. From there, it's taking that data and doing some kind of a beta test. So pick a team, pick a project, pick a customer, pick a whatever you need to do for your piece of data and run your tests. Run your theory. Say, hey, this is what I think this is how we can change the business. I think this will have this impact. Now you get to test it. I say, hey, can I have a team to do this with or a customer, whatever. Say, can I do this? Get buy-in from your leaders if it's going to be a major change. And then once you have that buy-in, then you run that test. Then you take that data and say, this is the data. This is why we should change. And if it's very clear that it will save money or create more revenue, it will be much easier to implement than just being hey, I feel like this would be better. Maybe not. If you don't have any way to measure it, you're certainly not going to get the buy-in at a major corporation. You're just not going to get that. You're not going to get somebody to be oh yeah, cool. I don't care. That's fine. Yeah, go for it if you feel it. Very rarely. Sure, maybe on some random chance, but ultimately, your goal is to take as much data as you possibly can to build out the case and then test it. And once you have that data, take it to the leaders and say, this is what we found. I'd like to implement this across the way. And then hopefully they give you the green light because you've shown the data and the ROI and what the money impact to the company, the business that it will have. And I say, go do it. Then it's up to you to get your key stakeholders in place and start running that change throughout all the different groups that it impacts. It's a lot of work. It's really difficult to find the data, but if you can find the data and you can get the ROI together, you can drive change in a major way. Like I said, in a small business, you may not need that much information. You could just suggest it and test it without that data and maybe get it through pretty easily. But also it depends on the company, depends on the leader, depends on who you are and your track record and the insights you've brought to the CEO of a small company. So I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Jason@leadfromhere.co. Otherwise, take care.